Good evening, or good afternoon, good morning, whatever, to everybody listening. Welcome to the Phantom Post Radio podcast. As you can tell, this is not Kate. She is taking a little bit of a vacation, especially since I don't even know if she's watching anything this season.
I don't think so, no.
Not like
Yeah. So she is taking the day off a little bit, as that is what we were going to talk about. So as usual, it is me, Cain, and we also have Kestrel.
I am also not Kate.
Mm-hmm. Good. I would be slightly concerned if you were. Or we can just all be Kate.
Mm.
And then just sit in silence for 2 hours. And then we also have Bran.
Hello. Not Kate.
Hello. Not Kate. Not Kate number 3. But yep, welcome everybody. We have some stuff to talk about this season. It's a little bit on the lighter side, but luckily we have a good amount of news, especially with Comic-Con and stuff happening quite recently that has had some several interesting anime bits and pieces of news and trailers and things like that. So I figure we might as well just jump right in. Kestrel, I know that you've got the skinny on all that stuff, so...
Yeah, so start with a bit of news about Hayao Miyazaki's latest movie. First movie in 10 years, just came out in Japan. You may have not noted that, or you may have not been hearing much about it. And that's probably because that's the way Ghibli wanted it, because they had absolutely no promotion, absolutely no marketing. They didn't even let anyone know what the movie was about. And it wasn't until after it was released and people saw it that they even let anyone license it. So after it was released in Japan, G-Kids finally announced that they licensed it and that it would be coming out sometime before the end of the year. However, it is not even going to have the same title. The original Japanese title translates to How Do You Live, which is the name of a book that provided some light inspiration for Miyazaki, but by no means is it an adaptation. And so, in preparation for this, since that was announced a few years ago, that book was licensed and translated and published in the US. And so there it is. How Do You Live? The, source of the new Miyazaki movie. No, it's not. It's not the source. It's not even the same name as the new Miyazaki movie anymore. Not even close. It's going to be called The Boy and the Heron. And yeah, I feel like, if anything, this was just a further move by Ghibli to fuck with people by giving it the same name as an established property so that they would think they knew the premise, and then having it not actually have anything to do with the book at all, and then not even giving it the same title. And actually, it's a completely different movie entirely. So... yep, that's what those guys have been up to, and it still got number 1 on the box office in Japan, above like Mission Impossible and everything. So yeah, Miyazaki is powerful.
I say that shouldn't surprise a single person.
I mean, when you think about how much they pour into promoting, Marvel movies and Avatar and a Christopher Nolan movie, all those things that, if just word of mouth and people looking up titles and creators and everything were enough, then they wouldn't have to do all that. So the fact that, they can do absolutely nothing, make sure that people know nothing about this movie going into it, they have to know that Miyazaki is coming out with a new movie after 10 years this weekend, and it still gets number 1. I feel like that's still pretty impressive.
Insane. It's literally the opposite of the whole Barbenheimer thing that was going on here.
Right.
I mean, Barbenheimer fucking rules too. So.
Yeah. It does. It's reaching number 1 in a different way.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm actually gonna try and keep that going. That whole not knowing anything about the movie until it gets to whatever it does here, either a theater release. It'll probably get a theater release, maybe limited, but who knows? because I want to try and sort of preserve that ignorance of the film, so that it can emulate the experience in Japan as much as possible. When I first saw the title change, like The Boy and the Heron, I was thinking along the lines of, do they just believe we're stupid? Like,
this is a movie about a boy and a heron.
Exactly. I was like, do they think we're dumb, or did somebody who made the name change in the boardrooms still think that like anime is mostly for children? Children are dumb, aka they need everything spelled out for them, so they can't appreciate a title that has some type of subtlety in it.
No, I feel like it was just Miyazaki and Suzuki were like, all right, you guys thought you knew the story. You don't know the story. You thought you knew the title. Guess fucking what? It's not the title. So I feel like it just goes into the same thing.
I didn't know that about it taking inspiration from the book. So that makes me a little more okay with it. But I had the same impression as Cain, where the board got together and they're like, all right, what are we going to actually name this movie? Because that first title's a little too demanding of existential thought for the kids. I don't think we can push them that far.
No, I mean, I think the board, which is to say Toho for the Japanese side, is not at all happy with any of the decisions that Ghibli made about this movie.
No.
Production committees really want to promote their movies. They really want everyone to know that a movie is coming out. They really want money. And so I'm also curious, like, if they're going to let G-Kids promote it in the US, because obviously they want to. And, putting out a Miyazaki movie in theaters doesn't necessarily guarantee the same kind of, like, nationwide cultural attention that it would in Japan. So whether they're allowed to do that, maybe the fact that they weren't allowed to announce it until after its Japanese release was because they insisted that it get promoted, and so they wanted to make sure nothing could leak until it was out for them. Of course, the irony of this whole strategy is that by preventing any spoilers from leaking out, they've all but guaranteed spoilers for everyone outside of Japan, because if they had just done a simultaneous release, they could actually keep that going. But since they wanted to keep it so close to the chest and not let anyone get it until it was out in Japan, means the rest of us are subject to that risk now.
I guess I get it if they were actually able to, like, make it so leaks didn't happen or anything. Yeah. Once that is overseas, there is no telling what American hands will do with that.
And I mean, I really appreciate and respect what they did and how they stuck to their guns on that, because, I'm so fucking sick of having seen all the highlights of every movie that I'm ever going to see 1,000 times before every other movie that I see. So, Suzuki's whole statement about, going to the movies and seeing trailers and having seen an entire movie already, not being the way to experience it, really resonates with me, and I appreciate it. So I wish that could be the norm. Of course it cannot, but I definitely appreciate it for this one, and I hope I can remain unspoiled. And I hope G-Kids is forced to do the same thing and not promote it in any way that, we would know what happens beyond there being a boy and a heron, apparently. Because, that would be a really great experience going into it completely blind. And obviously, G-Kids is not going to, fight Ghibli. They are so lucky to have the entire Ghibli catalog, being the tiny distributor that they are. And this is probably the only Miyazaki movie that they'll ever get to release first, because all the previous ones had been under Disney originally.
Oh yeah, and now I bet all that, like, those Ghibli months in the theaters here make G-Kids more money than like anything else for them.
Right.
It would be amazing if Ghibli did send G-Kids, instead of the no cuts samurai sword, they send them some kind of like no ads thing.
Exactly.
I would love that. We'll see. Hopefully the three of us can all hold strong, and maybe we'll have a spoiler-free viewing for all of us. I hope.
I think I'm most concerned about you two. I actually managed to be not spoiled by most anime things, but that's because I'm not online for anime at all. Like, I watch the shows and then that's it, and then talk to you guys. I don't really take part in communities, so you two definitely have a daunting task ahead of you in that regard.
You're
I'm
telling me you
slight-
haven't seen Luffy's new form? Because that shit has been spoiled like weeks, months, years before it's gonna be shown.
aggressively.
I'll do you one better, Bran. I didn't
Uh-oh.
know he had forms in the first place.
There
Wow,
you go.
that's some dedicated turtling you're doing. I respect.
Yeah,
I did see the Netflix trailer for it
yeah.
recently out
Well,
of
we will
curiosity.
get to that very shortly.
Ooh.
Um, but yeah, I'm kind of in between the two of you, but probably honestly closer to your level, Cain, where like I almost never get spoiled on anything. I have my little communities that I talk to, but they're pretty good about keeping things under wrap. I'm pretty good at knowing how to avoid spoilers at this point. I feel like Bran is very online and very in tune with all that, so he definitely has the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I'm fucked. It's over.
Yeah. But yeah, hopefully we don't get spoiled. We get a nice theatrical run. Maybe, they might have like a limited run, especially if they're not allowed to promote it initially. And then they'll probably get a Best Animated Feature nomination. And then maybe after that, after the nominees come out, they'll have another run. And, people will be more inclined to see it because it's a nominee. Yeah, we'll see. Like I'm sure they want to do it at like their Animation is Film Festival here in the fall. A few other places they could try to premiere it or something. But I feel like it's kind of against the whole spirit of this process to have any sort of special showing. Like the whole point is you just show it to everyone at the same time, let everyone have the same like first impression. So maybe that's what they'll do, and that's probably for the best. And they did IMAX and other like premium formats in Japan, so hopefully it can get a little bit of that in the US. I did see Suzume in IMAX, so it's not unheard of for anime films to get it.
I feel like it'll probably be like winter theatrical release. That's just my assumption. I feel like for some reason, like Ghibli in the holidays kind of have something going on. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yes, we will see. Okay, next piece of news. So I don't normally get to talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the context of this podcast, but the upcoming Spider-Man freshman year series that will be part of the MCU will officially be anime because it's going to be made by Polygon Pictures.
All right. I was very like it's like a weird like Larry David reaction to this where I'm like, hell yeah, Spider-Man anime, hell yeah. Polygon Pictures, uh-oh.
Yeah, the monkey's paw
Yeah.
pearls.
Yeah. Ugh.
I'm gonna have to Google Polygon Pictures because
I think
I'm
you just watched a show by them, I think, a season or two ago.
did I? I mean,
Oh,
we'll see in a
yeah.
second. I googled Polygon Pictures and I got the exact thing I googled. Just a bunch of pictures of Polygon.
They're the ones that do Ajin and Knights of Sidonia and
Oh, they did Kaina.
Aina,
Right.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
I was like, Aina?
Oh, so they do lots of 3D animation stuff. Okay, I can understand the trepidation there.
And
Yeah.
like I want to say maybe the worst looking CG consistently in the industry. Like they have a very distinct style, but I think it looks like fucking ass. Everyone is very like flat faced and emotionless all the time.
I feel like maybe like creature design could be all right, but like characters will definitely not look the best.
Hopefully he's wearing the mask the whole time.
Yeah.
Actually, he's not going to be wearing it at all. It's
just makes me
nothing
so
but
sad.
ruthless close-ups.
That makes me so sad because I was at a comic store this weekend and I saw they just put out that a manga artist renditions of like Marvel characters into a book.
Mhm.
And I saw all the Murata Spider-Man
Mhm.
pictures and I was just like, oh my god, this man just needs to make a Spider-Man manga.
Yes. God, so good.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
But we technically now have MCU anime and Star Wars anime, so that's something,
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, there was an Avengers anime like a few years
Yeah,
ago.
there were a few Marvel anime series. There were like 4 distinct ones. I think Madhouse did most or all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother and I did a panel about them at Otakon like 6 years ago.
Oh
Nice.
Like the Iron Man,
Yeah.
the Wolverine one.
Yeah, there's
None of
like,
them are particularly good.
all right, that's what I hear.
wow.
There's like a Wolverine one and then an
Mhm.
X-Men one, and they have very
Yep.
different Wolverines, and one of them is like super Bishonen.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
Honestly, the best
Wouldn't
attempt in my
recommend.
eyes has been Batman Ninja. That was at least fun.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of like they also did you see the Batman like 2D anime that came out at the same time as the Dark Knight? It was like Arkham Knight or something.
Oh, yeah. I remember
yeah.
that.
That was like an Animatrix kind of anthology thing by different studios. And yeah, now we talked about this last weekend because it was our AX episode. You guys weren't on, but
Mhm.
the success of Batman Ninja has led Warner Brothers to commission this Suicide Squad isekai anime.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh,
forgot.
man.
That's going to be a thing, but like the staff is crazy good for it, so it
Yeah.
might be entirely better than it has any right to be, or it might just be a total waste of their talents.
Stupid,
Yeah.
sexy Joker.
Yeah. So
It's
yeah,
gonna be stupid, sexy. Everybody's gonna look
That's
unreasonably attractive.
Yeah.
But you don't have to worry about that from Polygon Pictures. They'll all be unreasonably unattractive. All right. On to some Comic-Con news. Honestly, most of the news from Comic-Con came from Adult Swim. They had a lot of new anime stuff to talk about. So probably the biggest like brand new announcement is Lazarus, which is a brand new TV series from Shinichiro Watanabe. It's probably, it sounds like the most involved he's really going to be in an anime for quite a while now, because like for Carol and Tuesday and Space Dandy, he was like chief supervising director, where there was like a main series director under him. Terra and Resonance was the last time he like was probably really hands-on, but even that he had like an assistant director. So Kids on the Slope is really the last thing that he really directed solo. And even when and that was 11 years ago now. And even when you're like a series director, the only series director, generally most episodes will be by individual episode directors. But for this, Jason DeMarco, the head of Toonami and Adult Swim anime and all that kind of stuff, confirmed that Watanabe is actually directing every episode of this series. So
wow.
yeah, it's going to be very Watanabe. It's going to be
Very
by
John
Mappa. Yeah, that's right. It's going to be the
Yeah.
director of John Wick is doing the action choreography, which is crazy.
I was about to jump on you, be like, so you're just gonna skip the fact that the John Wick man is involved.
Right? Yeah, he's going to be doing the choreography, which is an appropriate thing for the John Wick guy to do.
There's
also
gonna be a lot of people twirling around on the ground with guns. Just
the-
rolling around, baby.
In the trailer, that main character is spinning. That dude
Yep.
is twirling.
That's his favorite thing, is just make everybody twirl and spin and shit like tops.
And he was the guy who was the action choreographer for The Matrix before he was directing, right? Is that the
I
same
think
guy?
so, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, he's got a pedigree up in there.
Which is kind of, full circle in a way, because of course, Watanabe directed 2 of the shorts in the Animatrix. So now he's got the guy from The Matrix helping him on the show.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got some Western artists doing the music that I've never heard of, but I feel like Brand probably has. This is more on that kind of stuff.
The only one I know of was Kamasi Washington.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
because
so we got
his jazz is fucking sick.
Yeah, I feel like Brain Eater, which Kamasi's part of that. Uh, what's it called? Brain Eater's like the label, and that has like Flying Lotus, who's done a lot of stuff with Adult Swim.
And
Uh,
Watanabe.
yeah, and
Watanabe directed
Watanabe
one
as
of his
well.
music videos. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And he also did the music for the Blade Runner,
Blade Runner. Yeah, yeah. Yep.
Black Lotus. But
Mhm.
yeah, so that makes sense because they have a very big connection with them. And let me see what else is on there.
Yeah, so it's
Oh yeah,
him,
Bonobo.
yeah, and Floating Points.
I haven't.
Those are the three.
I don't know if I've heard of Floating Points, but yeah, Bonobo as well. Okay. I mean that'll be fun. Like
Okay,
jazz
so
electronic inspired.
yeah, so just looking at the Chad's Helsky guy. So he was actually the stunt double for Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, and also the stunt coordinator for some of the movies. So yeah, now he's going to be working in animation. That'll be interesting.
Hell yeah.
It's going
Maybe
to
this
be.
means John Wick anime in the future.
It would certainly make sense.
I was thinking he's gonna love it because he can make people spin so fast.
Yeah.
This time, like literally, he doesn't have to worry about like a stuntman literally almost killing himself, throwing himself down some stairs. He's like, oh,
Right.
just make an anime guy do it.
Make an anime man do it.
It is interesting to think about a person who, got their start just doing like stunts, working in animation where stunts are not a thing and are completely irrelevant. You don't have to worry about that at all.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, the other thing that we know about it is going to be Mappa primarily animating it, because, of course, they animate everything these days. And also, Sola Entertainment is going to be doing probably some of the CG production on it. So hopefully not too heavy on that side. But yeah, that's happening.
Yeah. I will say I wasn't super sold on the like character designs. I feel like the main guy was a little blasé, just kind of like main protagonist vibes. I feel like Watanabe has a thing for just like quirky, curly haired brown men or brown haired dudes. Like it's
Right.
it's a thing. But
Yeah.
I mean, the story sounds interesting enough. So I will always be here for a Watanabe joint. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to discredit it. I'm excited.
Yeah. Definitely excited to see him like really work on something again. Yeah, so I think that's about all we have for that. Another announcement they made. Actually, I'll save that one for the last. So I guess we can talk about the Uzumaki trailer. Because yeah, it's been I don't know how many years that we've 5, something like that, 4 or 5 years we've been promised 4 episodes of Uzumaki. Kept getting definitely delayed, postponed. People thought it was canceled. They kept assuring us it would be coming eventually. It was always going to be by Hiroshi Nagahama, who's the director of Mushishi and Flowers of Evil, who likes to take his time, be very painstaking, uncompromising with his vision, and fight with the powers that be to get his way and have it be the medium he wants and the style he wants and the production that he wants, and take as long as he needs to. So now we finally have some footage from that, a few minutes of a clip that they released, and yeah, it's manga in animation.
I think that trailer is proof enough that we got to let this man cook.
Right.
If he says he needs 4 more years, give him 4 more years.
4 more years.
Because that was just not even is it just like very good. It's juxtaposing a long history of very bad Junji Ito adaptations, whether
Right.
live action, animated, like anything. So, oh man, it was just cathartic to like see it actually coming together. And
Yeah,
also
it looks incredible.
Yeah, and the Colin Stetson soundtrack I know is going to shred like so he did the Hereditary soundtrack as well. and he does a lot of other movie soundtracks nowadays. But it's just that like agonizing psychedelic horn just kind of like fluttering in the background. I feel like it'll just be perfect for the whole spiral and going crazy theming.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Well, they're using 3D models in this, right? This is like 3D
Yeah,
animation, and this is how you do that,
right.
as compared to other studios we may or may not have talked about earlier.
Yeah,
This is how you make that. This is how you make that shit look nice and good.
It's like, you know, the big 2D CG trend that's been going on since the first Spider-Verse movie 5 years ago, where everyone, you know, saw that and saw the success and acclaim, and we're like, oh, not everything just needs to look like Pixar anymore. We can, you know, have some of the original spirit of animation on top of our computer technology, and you know, that's a good trend to follow and a good bit of variety to have. But with Spider-Verse, it was innovative, and the others that followed it were kind of derivative. And, you know, with Spider-Verse, they were intentionally trying to emulate the feel of a Western comic book with these computer technologies that they want to use as the backbone. So, you know, rather than emulate that, this is kind of the same sort of innovation of like, what do we actually want to do with this animation? We want to make it look like a Junji Ito black and white manga, and we can use the same kind of principles of using CG to replicate that feel and have it be very flat and, in a good way, hand drawn and just like pure black and white comic feel. So yeah, I think it's a great move that he did. And yeah, you know, I didn't like the Flowers of Evil rotoscoping. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people did. But I've heard Nakahama talk about it and how he had to fight really hard and was insistent on using that style. And I'm sure it was a very similar process this time. And yeah, I respect him greatly for sticking to his guns and innovating and deciding that these things need to use these technologies and look this way, no matter how much it costs or how long it takes or how off-putting people might have found some of it. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like stylistically, like compared to Flowers of Evil, which very much, you know, you could feel one way or the other about it because it's very jarring. I think the like rotoscoping and 3D work in Uzumaki is it works because of the stylistic choices of like the black and white contrast. Like it's not really as easy to see the
Yeah.
like jarringness of it, and I think that also lets the very deliberately slow pacing of it. I don't know. It just looks so picture perfect as they're just like slowly walking down the like hallways or alleyways or whatever. And yeah, um I think the oh shit, I lost my train of thought. All right, never mind.
I agree. Yeah. Anything else about Uzumaki?
It's gonna slap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna slap, and I love that they made the wind be those black lines that trailed across the screen in the trailer. I thought that was very cool. They didn't just do wind; they showed little black lines going across,
Yeah.
just like you would in a manga. And I was like,
Right.
this is gonna be awesome.
All right. Other things that they announced there, they had some new shit for new Fooly Coolies, which I didn't care about because I thought the last Fooly Coolies sucked. And
this one
apparently
looked
these
so
ones suck
bad.
even worse.
Oh.
So I don't think anyone is excited for those.
It looked like a YouTube like kids show, like a the only thing I can come up with is Bluey, but I know Bluey probably at least has some good shit behind it. This looks more like yes papa, no papa type like oh it
Yeah.
looks so bad, bro.
Amazing.
I really hate the style.
Yeah, I was
Fantastic.
reading an article about the stuff that happened at Comic-Con, and they just showed like a cut, like just a screenshot of the new Fooly Cooly, and I was just like, this looks really bad. I didn't even bother to read the text associated with it. I'm like, no, this looks like it's gonna be just awful.
Mhm. Oh yeah, I just see the thumbnail of the trailer now, and that's enough for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
They added a character that's like the thing from the Fantastic Four. That's like a guy in it now.
Okay.
Yeah. Great.
Whatever.
they
That
reused Pillow songs, so like I don't even know if they're getting new ones or what.
yeah. Cooley Cooley sure was complete, and everyone sure liked it for 17 years and never needed to change. Here we are.
Yeah. They really like couldn't catch lightning in a bottle a second time, and they're like, but this time.
Yeah, certainly the fifth time.
Yeah.
This time we put the thing in there. People will love that.
Okay, so I think the last thing that they announced there was Ninja Kamui, which is another original series. This one is going to be directed by Sung-Hoo Park, who directed the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen as well as the movie. It's going to be at his new studio, E&H Production. And the character designs are by the character designer of Afro Samurai. I think he actually wrote the original manga of that too. And yeah, it's about a ninja who escapes to America. So that sounds about right for an Afro Samurai connection on Adult Swim.
Yeah. I mean, seems cool. I feel like I look forward to anything that Park's going to be involved in at this point. It's basically kind of like a new age version of Ninja Scroll, maybe. So it could just be like edgy violence, and I feel like I'm down with that.
Yeah, I'm sure like the action choreography will be incredible because yeah, both Jujutsu Kaisen and The God of High School, which he did immediately before Jujutsu Kaisen, he had like speaking of, I'm contradicting myself now. I said that, stunt men weren't involved in animation, but
Yeah.
they had like a little extra for, I think it was for The God of High School, where they showed Park like bringing in a bunch of stuntmen, stuntwomen, and doing the mocap. And they didn't like use it, like there's no CG behind it. They just used it for reference for all the animation because they wanted to make sure that it really looked like people moving around in the way that martial artists would. So, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Him and the John Wick guy need to get on a joint together.
I know.
Holy
Totally.
shit.
Well, they're all working with the same people at Adult Swim and Toonami and Warner Brothers now, so and Soul Entertainment, I guess.
Make it happen, DeMarco.
Yeah, sure he will. Yeah. All right. If no one has anything else about any of the Comic-Con or Adult Swim stuff, I can segue that into the next piece of news.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah,
so
go for it.
That's not all that it was announced that Sung-Hoo Park is directing at his new studio E&H Production, because that same weekend was also the weekend of One Piece Day, which is now basically an annual event of the anniversary of One Piece. Obviously, last year was a big deal because it was the 25th anniversary. Turns out the 26th anniversary can still be a big deal too, because there's just so much shit going on with One Piece these days. And so the first piece of news that I will segue into is that there will be an anime adaptation of Monsters, which is one of Oda's early one-shots, that was later kind of incorporated into One Piece. So for those who don't know about it but do know One Piece, the character of Ryuma from the Thriller Bark and Wano arcs was the main character of this one-shot before One Piece. And, several decades into One Piece, he established a little shared universe there, as you do. So that is, probably why they're choosing to animate this now, with the Wano arc hitting its climax in the anime. And yeah, kind of surprisingly, Toei has nothing to do with it. So it's going to be Park's new studio. He's going to be directing it. It's going to be obviously a little anime one shot. So that should be pretty neat.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
The just the image alone that they shared gave me, I mean, obviously it gave me Monster Hunter vibes, just like the design of the monster. But I'm curious what this will be like because I have no info about his one shots before One Piece. So
Yeah. Yeah, I've never read any of them. I'm very familiar with uh what the two versions of Romance Dawn introduced. I might have read maybe I've read both of them actually. Uh I know at least one of them got an anime adaptation, which I did see, and I feel like at least one of them, maybe not the same one, was like published in Shonen Jump magazine back in the day. Uh, but I'm basically familiar with what the two pre One Piece Romance Dawns kind of did,
mhm.
um, and I'm familiar with Monster only as a one shot starring Ryuma. Um, but yeah, I know there is a one shot collection called Wanted, which is named after his first one shot, which is included in that. Um, and hopefully with this anime coming out and everything, Viz will like put that one shot collection out. I know they did one of those for Toriyama not too long ago, so that would be
True.
pretty cool.
And Fujimoto just got some
That's
as
right.
well.
That's right. Yep.
Pretty neat.
Yeah. But yeah, it'll be cool to see this happen. Um, Other announcements from that. So there have been no ending themes for the One Piece anime for like 17 or 18 years now. They switched to like 2.5 minute openings. And for a while, they also had like 30 seconds of this is the story of One Piece, and these are the Straw Hats, and blah, 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 before the recap. So it was a weird choice in every way, and I don't really know why it was made and why it lasted for so long. And I certainly don't know why they're going back now. But like, you'd think the point is you have to make less show. You're running out of material to adapt. You have to make the show every week. You want to pump out as little as possible. But an opening and ending are a minute and a half each. So that's 3 minutes. So 2.5 minutes less time to take up. So that doesn't fit. Also, recently for the Wano arc, they've been like filling a section of the opening with just scenes from the episode you're about to watch, which I hate and I feel like is really lazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, very strange choices all around. Again, I don't know why they're going back to this, but I'm very ready for it because 2.5 minutes is too long for an opening, and I miss the endings in general. And having that variety of two songs with each episode. Also, you make more money if you got two singles to sell, so why wouldn't you have to? I don't know. But
Yeah. And I
they're
mean,
coming
we
back.
get more, animations from it. Because, like you said, if they're like splicing parts into like the extended version of an OP, they can just give us two separate ones at a minute and a half.
Yeah. And like the openings, maybe all of them since they switched to the 2.5 minute openings have been like your standard minute and a half opening with all the material you'd expect from it. And then like, yeah, let's go to some kind of bullshit for the next part of it. Maybe it's some scenes from the episode, maybe it's the lazy panning shot because this is where we throw the credits for like the voice actors that would normally be in the ending, which that's another problem with how they've been doing it. You get spoiled on what characters are going to appear because you see them all listed there ahead of time. Shit like that is it's been annoying. So I'm glad they're going back to the standard. The standard for a reason it worked, and yeah, it was really nice to have them in the early days of One Piece. I'll be glad to have them back.
Yeah. And as much as in like the early episodes, a there was like a almost like a nostalgia thing to the whole like narrator being like, "Oh, and these are
Yeah.
the Straw Hat Pirates, and he will be king of pirates, and this is what's happening." It's like, okay, now they're gonna do this until almost the time skip. It's like we know what the deal is.
Yeah.
Can we not do this anymore?
Like the very early openings, I feel like that part was done well because it was incorporated into the opening. You like had the song starting to play in the background. You just had the very basic like setup of what the One Piece. Well, we don't know what the One Piece is. The idea of what the One Piece is, what the Great Age of Piracy is. very basic Goldie Roger, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then, like post time skip, once they started, really milking it, they'd have the 2.5 minute opening, and then they'd be like, "These are the Straw Hats. This is Luffy, and this is Zoro, and this is the Grand Line, and this is the New World, and this is what pirates do when they want to find the One Piece, and we don't know what that is." But it was just like another fucking minute of that shit every time, and then they'd have like 5 minutes of recap, and then you'd
Yeah.
get,
You basically get like
10 minutes
15
of
minutes
episode.
of
Right, yeah.
exactly.
Now, at least in Wano, it's been like, all right, you got your 2.5 minute opening, and then maybe 30 seconds of recap, maybe no recap, and then we're right into the content, and it's all super high quality now. So that's been a little more tolerable, but it'll definitely be nice to have the balance of minute and a half, hopefully no other bullshit, maybe a little recap, 15 to 20 minutes content, hopefully closer to 20, and then an ending as God intended.
Yeah.
Also, these openings have been lasting way too long. Like Over the Top
Oh.
wasn't nearly as long as it deserved, and then the
That's what I
next
was
two
gonna
were
say too, is
way
maybe
longer
now
than they should have been.
yeah, maybe now it'll be a quicker cycle because they definitely let what last way too long.
So, but yeah, big stuff coming up in the One Piece anime immediately. Um, so it'll be exciting to see all this go down. And then yeah, I think the other big thing from the One Piece announcements are, of course, we are approaching the release of the live action series, and we got the teaser trailer with the release date announcement a few weeks ago, whenever that was, a few months ago maybe. And now we have the full like 3 minute trailer that shows a lot more of the actual content of what we can expect for the first season. Like I said last time, lots of thoughts. Could certainly spend a lot of time talking about it here. Could certainly give it its own episode, as I'm sure we will when the full series drops.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I will say, not feeling super shitty about it, which I'm real surprised about. Like,
Yeah, no, it's it's
yeah,
not marginally, it's drastically better than
yeah,
the first trailer.
like trying real hard not to expect anything good at all, but man, it's looking kind of okay. Like way better than I ever thought it could be.
Yeah, and it's weird because I don't know why some of the things worked in this trailer and not the other one. Like the very uncanny valley of the Gumu Gumu
Mm-hmm.
attack in the first trailer like looked awful, but like
Yeah.
every instance of it in the new trailer looked really good.
I feel like the only part I really noticed in the new trailer was like, the bazooka or whatever, the rapid
Yeah,
fire,
mhm.
um, which, you get to just straight up use animation techniques in that. You get to just show a bunch of arms at the same time and have them appear and disappear instead of like showing literal physics of them coming out of the arm, because that has to look like a cartoon attack. There's no way to express that in reality. So they get to get away with it with that. Whereas at the end of the first trailer, it was like, yeah, you just got to do the whole Mr. Fantastic stretchy bit, and it not look good at all. So we'll see. I'm sure it'll be a mixed bag depending on what kind of technique they have to show off.
The ship set looked cool. That's
Yeah,
about all I have. I
yeah,
was like, yeah, the ship set looks neat.
totally. They
It's
put
not all green screen.
right. And yeah, I think I kind of said that last time of, we knew from, I don't know, maybe One Piece Day last year they showed off this sets, and we were all like, whoa, you guys like built real ships. That's insane. Especially after Cowboy Bebop, which was another anime adaptation by Netflix and Tomorrow Studios, that it didn't seem like they made fucking anything for real. It was all like very cheap and kitschy and green screeny.
Mhm.
Um, and in the first teaser for this, I felt like even though they were primarily practical sets, something about like the cinematography still felt very green screeny and too digital and kind of too uh, clean in some ways, which we talked about last time. Uh, and yeah, they still have a bit of that now, but the sets do help it feel a little more kind of engrossing and immersive. So hopefully that keeps up. It's nice to see them doing a lot of practical stuff, especially for a series that probably should have just been straight CG from the start. I think the characters, like, I guess there's no way you either start with a more realistic base, which is out of the question because they're adapting One Piece. You drastically adapt the designs and costumes, which you get away with for like Western comics that have already had so many different interpretations. But probably a lot of people would get mad at you if you tried to do for a beloved anime or manga property that has a very consistent look that they all expect. Or the third option, which is your characters look like they're cosplaying, which is kind of the case here. And I guess that's the lesser of the three evils that they saw in front of them. And whatever, I'll take it. It looks okay.
Yeah. And I think the other main thing I mentioned last time we talked about this was, what are some of the crazier looking people and creatures going to look like the fishmen? And Arlong is all right.
Yeah.
I don't absolutely hate it. I do wish kind of like that middle ground of like they needed to go a little further, maybe make him look much bigger or something,
Right.
even if it's just like framing wise, just like
Right.
make him look more intimidating. But
And as Cain generally jokes about when we start talking about this, this is going to become extremely problematic if they continue the series and try to achieve the scale of these characters that are all like 50 feet tall.
yeah.
That is not going to work at all. And so I get it, not starting themselves down that path and just kind of making everyone look like normal humans in terms of scale. But yeah, Arlong is supposed to look big and imposing, and certainly bigger than like Luffy by a significant margin, and buff. And yeah, this guy doesn't really convey that at all. So that is a disappointment. But yeah, I think like his face looks about like you would expect a live action interpretation of a Saw Shark man to look.
Yeah.
So sure, I guess.
Yeah. We'll see. I definitely, we're on better terms now. So we'll see where we will be on launch day.
Yeah, exactly. Because I feel like I still had some hope for Bebop going into launch day, and then obviously, it was a train wreck. We'll see. It's hard to like really know how much to trust the original creators when they're like, I'm totally behind this, and I've been supervising the entire process and making sure that everything was exactly to my standards. Like, I really want to believe Oda, and I want to believe that it feels like, his One Piece as he would present it. One thing he did say was like, sometimes I thought that these were things that Luffy wouldn't say, but then Inuyaki says it, and it feels fine for him.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, it doesn't quite work for me, the little like quippy bits that I've been seeing from his character. So I get what he means, and I don't know that it's the best. But we'll see how that goes. Obviously the writing is going to make or break it in a lot of ways. So if it can feel like One Piece, that's going to be the big test. And
I think that's
sorry,
I was just gonna say, I think that's the craziest part is that like they can spend all these millions of dollars on like set designs and all this other stuff, but the thing it really comes down to for a lot of people is just the writing, and it's the same thing when comparing it to Bebop. Is
exactly.
people didn't like Bebop because the characters weren't the characters from Bebop.
Yeah.
In much of the ways that like everyone loves them, so like
Right.
a lot of getting this One Piece anime right, even if it doesn't look amazing all the time, as long as the characters feel like they're characters from the anime, I think people will be fine with it.
Yeah. And yeah, I was going to talk about Bebop in, comparing it to Oda's involvement in this because, they initially said like, Watanabe is a supervising producer or whatever. They're going to make sure that they involve him and that he's going to make sure it's true to his vision and everything. And then, of course, we got an interview from him a few months ago where he's like, Yeah, I didn't get past the first scene of that fucking show.
Yeah,
That was not Bebop.
literally, he's just like he took one look at it and it's like that's not Bebop. All
That
right,
is not
peace.
my show. And yeah, a similar series to One Piece, of course, Dragon Ball got perhaps the worst of these live action adaptations back in the day. And that was another case where initially Toriyama was like, yeah, I'm interested to see their interpretation of my work. I think everyone should check it out and give it an open mind. And then, of course, in the years that followed, he would be like, yeah, that was so bad that I needed to go back and make more Dragon Ball to get it back on track and make it the series that it was supposed to be. So we'll see in retrospect if all of Oda's claims that he has been very involved and it is his perfect, ideal One Piece adaptation hold true in a few years.
Hey, maybe if it's so unbelievably bad, it'll spawn a Kai version of the original arc.
I mean, we don't need a resurgence of One Piece. One Piece is already still going and in its heyday.
It's true. True. It's too big
Yeah.
to fail. So
We will see. Yeah, that's all I had for news.
nice. Pretty hefty news section, but makes up for our pretty light watch list this season.
Yeah, for the most part. Normally, I would have shut down the One Piece talk eventually by trying to do something, but I'm like, well, we don't have a lot of show stuff to talk about, so they can just keep going for a while.
Yeah.
I'll just chill out in my little corner over here.
When me and Kestrel have this is a rare time where the One Piece fans are in the majority.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when we met in Chicago, you were talking about like podcast episode ideas, and you were like, "Yeah, you should do more One Piece episodes." And so when I saw all this news come out, I was like, "Oh shit, maybe we should just try to plan a One Piece episode every One Piece day or something," because it seems like there's going to be a lot to talk about every time that rolls around. And yeah, we can certainly just dedicate an episode to the live action series, see how far each of us gets into it.
Yeah, we could do like a live action episode and maybe like an end of Wano, end of an era type episode.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
End of Wano, the second time.
Cain the pain of listening to us talk about One Piece.
It is like listening to a completely different language.
I feel like most of what we just talked about was pretty much just like basic production things, like not all that specific about the story of One Piece.
Yeah, no, that was halfway decent. I'm sure once the show comes out and everything, it'll turn into a completely different animal, and we'll be getting all sorts of talks about shit. But
of course,
yeah, we can move on to the season then. Luckily, even though it's light for most people, we still have a few shows in common, and DJ was kind enough to send us a bunch of his notes about what he's watching, since he, I believe, has the longest watch list of everyone, though he has also stated that not all of them will survive.
I love that his watch list is like a battle royale style. Like, all right, which of these shows are going to get killed in 2 more episodes?
That feels very DJ.
But yeah, I figured I would like to start with something that's new that we're all watching, because this season also has a lot of sequel stuff, seasons and like second seasons, the other cores and things like that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about Zom 100.
Yeah, this is the one original show I'm watching this season that's not a sequel.
It is kind of the one worth watching.
Yeah, that's probably the case for many people.
Yes.
Is if they're not watching Jujutsu Kaisen or Horimiya or Bleach or whatever, they're going to be watching Zom.
Yeah.
So yeah, and luckily it looks like everybody here has a pretty good opinion of it thus far. I also think it's been quite a fun ride. One of my favorite bits is just how glad the main character is that he doesn't have to go to work anymore. Like, I thought it was going to be kind of minor, but he's still just like, well, beats work, and like every time something happens. Yeah, it's been really good so far. I don't know how to feel about the like multicolored party blood.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And I
think
wonder if that's more of a censorship thing.
I think it's probably partially that, and I think partially inspiration from the actual like volume covers and
Yeah,
like art, because I feel like a lot of the full art from the manga has that like super pastel rainbow thing going on.
yeah, I noticed that was from the manga, and yeah, I'm not sure what the reasoning was. I feel like it doesn't have that much thematic significance, but whatever. Looks interesting, I guess.
I think the other thing is that maybe because he literally views it as like more fun than real life was, that he's
Right.
like not even really comprehending the fact that like there are actually like a world of dead people all around him.
Yeah, yeah. It's like School Live. You watch that show?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, anyone who hasn't, I already probably spoiled the twist of the first episode, but it's kind of a similar concept to the main character of that and how she views a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. Or like the pyro from Team Fortress, you know?
That is a reference I do not.
Sorry.
No,
Very
I
similar thing going on.
I get it. I understand that from
Yeah.
many moons ago when I played the
Many
game.
moons.
All I know
Yeah.
about
Many
that game
moons.
is hats.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you need, really.
Yeah, I figured.
There's hats and there's
Um
several characters. Yeah,
several.
I can read DJ's
Yeah,
opinion
yeah.
about it here real quick to kind of get him involved spiritually at the very least. Especially because I find that we agree for the most part on the show. Our opinions are generally the same here. But DJ states that he wasn't completely sold after the first episode, despite its gorgeous animation, but I've come around to like this a lot. Zombie stuff can be really hit or miss, but this seems to take a really classical approach so far with a fun Japanese twist to it. And while the whole working yourself to death thing creates a solid foundation for the series, I'm not sure how or if it will continue to be relevant as a whole. And generally, I tend to agree with him because I'm in the same boat. Like, zombie stuff is really hit or miss for me, especially ever since Walking Dead started, like, really kind of doing a modern, revitalization of zombie stuff as a genre. And it's
Mhm.
still going, actually, if you did not know that.
Yeah. Well, there's like been 2 other spin-offs, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
with
sure.
various spin-offs now that Daryl character's in Paris somehow. And all sorts of other shit, but zombies tend to be my rather least favorite subgenre of horror. It's never really been one that I've been big into for the movies and things of that nature. So it did have that going against it a little bit when the show started, but I am really enjoying it so far, and the animation has been really good, especially anytime he's being chased or anybody's being chased. Like, the zombies have such a fun dynamic movement to them with the blend of running and walking and how they're just being tossed around all over the place sometimes. Like, one of my favorite moments from that first episode is when he jumps off a building and then just kind of lands on a bus stop and then crushes a shitload of them.
That was insane. I was like, okay, hold on a second.
Yeah, and he just doesn't care. Like, I like that the zombies do look kind of scary, and they definitely have a dangerous element to them, but also at the same time, they're just like cannon fodder for the characters and for the animators to do things with that will catch your eye. So they're scary, but they can also just be tossed around in very comedic ways, like when he tackles his boss out the building and then he just lands in a big old splat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the zombie setting is almost just to be a dichotomy to
Exactly.
like literally like even a zombie apocalypse hell is better than working a normal job.
That's what I was gonna say. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care for zombies, but I don't think the zombies matter in this series. It doesn't matter that it's a zombie apocalypse. It just matters that it's any apocalypse, and that is so much more freeing than the life he led. And I think zombies were probably chosen because of the zombified state that you find yourself in when you have that sort of just soul-consuming job.
Yeah, I mean, he was literally the zombie at the beginning when he was working the job and everything was black and white. And then it popped into color. He literally like bursts through the aspect ratio to like full the screen. It was so fucking well done.
Yeah.
Zombie makes sense though too, I guess. cribbing off what you were saying, in that it's also kind of the easiest apocalypse you could do and still make it somewhat lighthearted. Like if you had a disease or like, you know, some type of military style apocalypse, you would have a much harder time being like, look how fun this is. It's why movies like Zombieland work.
Right.
Yeah, or like Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
Shaun of the Dead,
This
or games
feels
like
very Shaun of the Dead.
Right.
or games like Dead Rising back when those were around. Because you can just do a whole lot of really fun shit with zombies, since you know you don't connect with them as humanity anymore, so you can just rip their arms off and people be like, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't mind the zombie setting as much, just because it feels like there's been enough time since the zombie craze kind of like, you know, jumped the shark and like fell off. Even with like The Walking Dead, I literally had not paid attention to that show after like the third or fourth season. So like I was blocking that out of my mind. Like zombies have not been really around in my cultural spaces. So like seeing this was like, okay, you know what? I can do a zombie thing again. And I think it's weird because it might have like spurred something in me, because I just got Shaun of the Dead on Blu-ray and also Night of the Living Dead on the Criterion Collection sale. So I guess I'm having a personal zombie resurgence at the moment.
That's a classic.
Brand of the Dead, yeah.
So Night of the Living Dead will be an interesting watch for you because it's a low budget, very low budget.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, you know, where it all began.
Oh yeah, and filmed in Pittsburgh, which is cool. Well, the Pittsburgh area, which is kind of cool. So that'll be a fun watch. I don't think the Criterion has a colorized version. I think you just get the black and white version.
Yeah,
I can't
it's
remember.
black and white.
Okay, because I have it too, but it's been a while since I've watched it. It's got good supplements and stuff.
Yeah, they always
as well.
Do.
But yeah, I think the show is really effective because of the absurdity of that contrast, where, you know, he goes through 3 years of his life feeling undead, working a normal job in peacetime, and then it takes a literal invasion of the undead for him to finally feel alive for the first time. And then, you know, yeah, the tonal whiplash, the intense joy that he feels, and bright, colorful happiness that he sees all around him while people are getting murdered and transformed into monsters and everything. Like, yeah, that's what it's all about. Like, zombies make sense thematically, but it's not a show about zombies. It's not a show about an apocalypse. It's a show about soul-crushing corporate culture and how cathartic it can be to free yourself from that, and just universally relatable societal issues that people, especially in Japan, but all over the world, face in their social and professional adult lives, and, you know, how that connects to, you know, old friendships that have ended from college, and, you know, all the things that you took for granted and have grown out of into this, you know, wasteland of adulthood that just makes you wonder of like what it's all worth, what it's all for, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think that's basically a good way to answer the last line in DJ's write-up, because he says how like, oh, I don't know how like it can continue the relevancy of the like work culture theming. And I think it just being the jumping off point is fine, because then the theming and the like whole goal is the bucket list of like live with no regrets, like do everything you wanted to do that you couldn't do as a wage slave.
Exactly. And I thought that sequence in the second episode, you know, obviously the parallels and juxtaposition between him and the female character, you know, was really effective in displaying their dichotomy of, you know, the ultimate pragmatist who is only concerned about survival, but isn't necessarily going to have any fun doing that. And then the totally frivolous idiot who has accepted that he's probably going to turn into a zombie, so but he feels alive for the first time, so why not finally use that time to live his life and do all the things that he's been wasting the past 3 years by not doing. And so they each have their respective, you know, list of 100 things to do given this zombie apocalypse, but they have completely different outlooks on it.
So kind of tangent on this. I for some reason this first episode kind of reminded me of the first episode of Komi-san. And then there's the whole
Mhm,
like 100 friends and
mhm,
100 bucket list thing. And I was like, wait, who made this? And it's a
mhm,
studio called Bug Films. And
mhm,
it says they haven't made anything before. Do you know
mhm.
anything about that?
Oh, man, you just teed up all the next points I was about to bring up. So, okay, this is amazing. Um, so Bug Films was, uh, we talked about studios recently about how new studios tend to be spun off of sub studios at other studios. So Bug
Mm,
Films was spun off of what was previously a sub studio of OLM, um,
uh,
who did make the Komi-san anime. Um, and this is their first property as a full-fledged studio. And if you look up the OLM logo or the OLM office exterior or interior, you'll notice
oh,
that it is Akira's workplace from episode 1. He
wow.
works at ZLM, which has the exact same logo except the kind of Z-shaped uh, like area of the L just gets bigger and replaces the O. Um, so basically, the guys who used to work at OLM, which has been noted for some toxic work culture and practices, uh, is they're using that as their template for the ultimate evil of soul crushing entertainment companies that you could possibly work at in this series, in their first series as their own studio.
That's so amazing. I
And
also just looked and it's the same director.
I was just going to say that. That was my and. And the only
Holy
thing that the
shit.
director has directed is, in fact, Komi-san, which,
Wow.
yes, is, in fact, about uh, making a list to 100 and checking everything off of it, and has very similar kind of occasional glimpses of poignant directorial brilliance amongst the series of mostly gag comedy. So,
That is
yeah.
what what the fuck? That's wild. Everything that just happened.
Yes.
Wild.
Could not have planned that.
Yeah, we did not write this. This is not a segment, not a bit.
The writers are on strike, guys. They didn't write that for us. This
Yeah.
is all live.
Ugh, amazing.
But yeah, it's crazy that this is, the first work of a new studio, and that it looks this good. So
Yeah.
I don't know how they
Uh
managed it. Hopefully they're not, working under those conditions that they are satirizing, because that would be a very cruel irony.
yeah, I mean, wouldn't be surprised if they are.
Yep.
But did anyone watch past the first episode? Is there
Yeah.
like a is there like at all like that first episode dip in quality feel or does it feel
Yeah, a
pretty
little bit. I would say each subsequent episode has a marginal dip in quality. So hopefully that is not
okay?
a trend to forebode what is to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Plus the second episode, which is as far as I've gotten so far, didn't quite have like the same action in it too.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
It's
Like
it's
the
way more it's way more contained since it's mostly just about uh the main character Tendo wanting to drink beer all day.
yes, going to the store for some beer and writing a list. That's basically
Yeah,
that episode.
Honestly,
which
I
was
love
dope,
that.
and yeah, so he's got my vote immediately.
Sounds like
Can
what my
he
first day of the zombie apocalypse would be like.
can he be best boy when the
Probably.
Crunchyroll Awards come around? Simply
I'm
because
sure he'll be a contender. Yeah.
he was willing to go out in a zombie apocalypse just to get a bunch of Asahi. So it's not even good beer; it's a bunch of cans of Asahi and like garbage beer.
You know what? Just for that, I'm going to crack the last remaining can of Asahi in my fridge just for this boy. We love it.
Yeah. So it definitely doesn't have like the big climactic bombastic sequence that ends the first episode. Um, it's a lot more static. It does have like the one shot that they do a few angles of, that does look really impressive and is really well directed and everything. So, they're still trying, but it does seem like they put a lot into that first episode to really make it hit, and it worked.
I'm waiting for. Is there a third episode?
Yeah.
Is the big buff guy in it?
Yeah.
The big
Okay, I'm looking forward to this big buff guy. He looks like he'll be silly,
Yes.
especially in the opening. He's naked at least
Yep.
once.
Yep. I was just about to say, he's basically a character out of Grand Blue.
Oh, amazing!
Excellent.
All I wanted to hear.
So we're gonna have two idiots living their best life, and then one woman who's just trying to hold it all together is what's gonna happen here.
Seems like that. And based on the opening ending, it seems like there will be a fourth character who is probably an idiot woman. So, yeah.
I think this is another reason why the zombie theming is not going to. It's not like an eye roll for me. Is because it's not going to be the same melodramatic thing. It's like this is supposed to be fun, and I love that I'm going to be able to like watch the series and not think every episode there's a new character introduced. It's like, oh, they're going to die this episode as well.
Nope, they're just going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the things that I was alluding to about the themes of the series were based on those later two episodes. So, like, the first episode is very much about the work culture. The second one is about kind of optimism versus pessimism in a crisis, and then the third one is about drifting away from and reconnecting with old friends and how people put on facades to try to make their own struggles seem less relevant, and how people can feel bitterness and jealousy to their friends and not be able to be proud of their friends for succeeding because they feel like they've failed. So there's a lot of very relatable themes that I'm appreciating it layering into, what seems like a very silly zombie comedy.
Yeah, it's very fun. So I'm looking forward to still watching it, especially as an original show. So
Yeah.
we got that going for us.
So it's good to have at least one of those.
I am upset that I didn't get the mangaka's autograph at AX because it was like the day before the show aired. And I'm like, I don't know anything about the show. And then it aired, and I'm like, shit, this show's great. Why didn't I get his autograph?
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh well. You got the one autograph you needed.
That's true.
From Comic-Con anyways.
Yeah.
Alright.
So ready to shift?
Yeah.
Sure. All right, well then let's see. We also have a couple other shows that are both on our lists. Let's just jump right into Jujutsu Kaisen second season. A prequel of a prequel.
Yeah.
I joked that the next arc is going to follow Gojo in the womb. They just keep going back in time.
It's going to be all them as babies fighting spirits as small babies. It's going to be like that fucking God, what was the Jim Henson one? Muppet Babies. It will be Muppet Babies.
Jujutsu babies.
Jujutsu babies.
It's funny you say like the whole prequel and a prequel, because I feel like DJ's write-up kind of lends itself to like there might be a reason why he doesn't understand it, and I don't know if he saw the movie.
He has not, but why don't you go ahead and read his comment?
I sure will. All right, this is DJ saying, I have no fucking clue what's going on in this prequel, and I don't think it handled dropping you into a brand new story arc very well. It feels like it sort of just expects you to understand the conflict off the bat, and while the fundamentals of the world remain the same, I can't bring myself to get invested in a bunch of characters who are probably going to die, throwing out terms I've never heard before, like star plasma child or whatever. I'll probably like it more once I'm able to figure out what the fuck is going on. But right now, it just seems like an elongated proto arc about how the best character in the show became the best character in the show. Uh, hmm.
So I know DJ has not watched the movie, and I also just learned that Cain has not watched the movie.
Okay. Well, okay. To be fair, if you haven't watched the movie, there's still time because the next perfect time to watch the movie will be after this arc and before the next arc.
Yeah, that is
You
what I've heard as well, is that the movie isn't gonna help you here, really.
no, really.
So us, neither DJ or I, neglecting to watch the movie shouldn't really affect how any of this goes at
Yeah.
this point. But yeah,
I would agree.
after this arc and before the next one is where you want to place that. I guess people are like, ideally, if you haven't watched the first season yet, watch the movie. I'm like, well, fucking too late for that. Or I wouldn't be Googling this.
No, I mean the movie basically deals with the introduction of a character who will matter later, but and some more like background on Geto and Gojo, but like
Yeah, like I can see the point of watching it before this arc a little bit because it does delve into, a little bit more of their background. Like, I don't think outside of the movie you would know that they were classmates in school, right? That wasn't addressed in the first season, was it?
I don't think so.
So, there's a little bit of that in the movie.
I think there were some vagaries about they know each other.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there was definitely some stuff about them having a past together that wasn't just we've been fighting for a long time.
I think the biggest thing the movie would have given you, at least before this arc, is like pushing how twisted Geto is now compared to like
Right.
what you're seeing now in the prequel. Like, wow, he was such a good guy. What happened?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, this is another one that I think I agree with DJ on somewhat. Like, I'm enjoying the season, and I think it's good. It also doesn't help that I'm typically not very much a prequel person, which is part of why I didn't watch the movie, too. Like, I just don't watch prequels for stuff very often, unless, like, the characters of the original show really, really did it for me, and I wanted to learn more about the backgrounds of people. Jujutsu Kaisen is, forcing my hand a little bit in that respect, in that the movie that is canon is a prequel, and now the newest season that is canon is also a prequel. So if I want any Jujutsu Kaisen, I have to watch this. Now, that being said, it's still fun. Gojo is still very arrogant, super duper arrogant.
Always has been.
Yep.
Yeah.
And everybody is very hot,
Yes.
which also helps. But yeah, there was some disorientation when you start up the first episode and you're just thrown right into things. And then they're talking about Tengen-sama and the star plasma child and all of this. And it can sort of dull the narrative a little bit, like especially at the end of episode 3 and what goes down there, you realize as a viewer that it kind of doesn't matter a whole lot. Like what you saw isn't what's actually what actually happened in a way, because it can't be. It's impossible to be that way. But so that's why I tend to stay away from prequels when that kind of things happen, is that since I already know the characters in here exist in the future timeline, whatever happens to them, no matter how like seemingly permanent or tragic, I'm like, well, they'll be okay. But man, that scene was dope though.
Yeah, it was a great episode.
It was a really good episode. Even saying that, because I like Gojo, but I'm not gonna lie, there was a little bit of pleasure seeing him getting knocked down a fucking peg and then getting just dunked on.
Yeah, like eviscerated completely.
Yeah, just so dunked on. Like not just physically, but also like mentally. In that obviously I'm not gonna spoil it super, but spoiler alert. But just like how the bad guy like planned everything, like he just kind of knew what to do and knew how to kind of get the psychological edge, and then also like he just physically dominated. It was one of those complete like perfect KOs.
Yeah, it's literally getting perfected in a fighting game.
Yeah, and not just in one round, but both.
Yeah,
like double perfect KO'd.
Of course, we know that Gojo's ego suffered no permanent damage.
Yeah.
Nor
right.
nor at this point did his
If any-
body.
If anything, yeah, just humble them slightly, the most slightly you can, like infinite jujutsu slightly.
Yeah.
So I think I understand. Like I definitely understand the um like the prequel kind of being like a why are we here kind of
Mhm.
feeling, but uh I feel as someone who has read and know like what the importance of this arc is, I feel like at least for now, because I understand that the way that Akutami lays out plot points is very just like he takes a handbook out of the Togashi handbook of just like characters stating shit matter of fact, like, oh yeah, we all know that this is the Star Plasma Child and she needs to fuse with Tengen-sama to complete the recycling of the Jujutsu barrier around the world. And it's like, wait, who Tengen? Who what? Like I understand like how just like a lot of that can kind of go over as like why are we like just convoluting this? But for me at least, this prequel arc is more so important just for the characters involved. And I feel like once we get to the end of this arc, you'll understand why it was being done because it will set up stuff for the next major arc. But I think more so it's just important to see that A Gojo isn't invincible. And like that's something that throughout the whole first season we're like, wow, this guy's literally a god. Like how is anything like how are the bad guys ever going to do anything with this guy in the show? It's
Right.
like one, he's vulnerable, and two, the like other main antagonist of the show was at one point a good guy. And it's like, okay, so how did we get to this point? I feel like the prequel will make sense once we get to the next major arc, but I can understand feeling like why do we have to do this?
Yeah.
I liked
It,
watching the relationship sort of blossom a little bit, being friends, and that they weren't. They're obviously very close, but I liked how they had obvious differences of opinions on things, but they came together on a lot of stuff too. So it wasn't just like you were my best friend and now you instantly betrayed me or whatever later on.
Yep.
You can tell there's definitely philosophical and psychological differences between them that will lead to the choices and the roads they both take. So it wasn't just, Geto and Gojo were super best friends and then they weren't. Like, that basketball scene was getting kind of tense,
Yeah.
even if it was just basketball. But, it showed underneath their friendship there is some very, like, foundational differences in their personalities and what they believe and what they don't, which will assuredly, much like, classic Magneto and Professor X, point them down diverging pathways eventually, even though they both may believe in the same end result. It's how you get there.
Yeah. And I think that also is something that will help with seeing the movie either before or after this arc is like in this prequel, Geto is like Jujutsu sorcerers exist to protect people. And then you get to Geto in the current timeline and he's like the only people that should exist are Jujutsu sorcerers. Everyone else is a monkey.
Yeah.
So it's like he went from literally like good guy to a straight up Frieza.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
I also just want to say that like I am as much as I love uh Park and like what was accomplished with the first season, I am like loving
Yes.
the change in director. Like I feel like the something about the vibe is way more um it has almost like a nostalgic feeling where it almost feels like Akutami's influences from things like Yu Yu Hakusho are kind of almost being used in that like the show can be very serious, but like the next minute there's just like a little goofy bits to enjoy as well as like cheeky dialogue. But I don't know, everything about like the I don't know, something about the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen was just so blocky and way more just like standard like camera work, whereas like
Mhm.
the angles and just everything just looks so different now and like way more cinematic, and I'm like loving the
Yeah.
look of it.
Yeah, I think Park focused a lot more on, putting everything into the action sequences, where Goshizono is more about being filmic for the, everything in between. Um, so the action isn't always as off the walls, but just the normal character moments are, very creative and yeah, cinematic.
Yeah, and I was afraid that the action would suffer, but honestly, I've been impressed with everything so far.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like that first the in the first episode when they're like going through that like spooky building and she's like about to look under the bed, I was like, wow, this is like probably this most tense, scary type of sequence that this show has had yet, and it wasn't really anything.
Yeah, and that had some very interesting animation choices with like the motion blur effect. I know
Yeah.
DJ did not like that at all. I can definitely see it being off-putting. It's pretty jarring just coming out of nowhere like that.
Yeah, and there was like her rotoscoped scream or
Yeah,
whatever that was very
yeah,
also very
like it was
weird.
yeah.
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 I noticed the motion blur. I don't think I had a particular opinion one way or the other, but I was like, oh, that's a choice.
Yeah.
The other thing I was very impressed with was the what was it? They were like looking at a TV, and I can't remember if it was like some kind of weird like flashback thing, but it like looked retro. It looked like retro anime in the TV, and I was just like,
Mhm.
how do they emulate that style? Something like
Yeah.
right at the very beginning.
I love when people emulate retro anime styles. I've seen it pulled off quite a few times. Um, but it's always a lot of fun when they do.
Yeah, but I've just been like floored. I think the second season looked way better than the movie even.
It's definitely the property that Mappa pours the most into. Like I feel like
Yeah.
even Chainsaw Man, like, you have your kind of ugly CG stuff in there and little shortcuts here and there. I
Mhm.
feel like this is where they just absolutely go all out and always have.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I get it, I guess it's like Shonen Jump's like lead runner aside from Chainsaw Man, which is more like the niche like
yeah,
hit.
and this
Uh,
was kind of like, you know, the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen was where Mappa really like, showed themselves off as the studio to watch and
mm,
in turn made Jujutsu Kaisen like the biggest manga around. So that was just a huge deal for both sides. And so now, they've been able to acquire every other big property since then, which is maybe too much. Uh,
yeah.
but they still give it all for their baby back there at Jujutsu High. Um, and yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing that they're doing both with this season and Chainsaw Man, where the series directors have never directed a full series before, but they're like the stars of episode direction. So they're picking out the young talents who have impressed them the most with directing individual episodes and giving them full series of like
Yeah.
really high pedigrees and calibers. So like again, Chainsaw Man was the same kind of thing, and Goshizono has directed like the best episodes of the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen, of Ranking of Kings, of Chainsaw Man. So it
Mhm.
makes sense to give him this chance, and yeah, they've really been showing that they can live up to those expectations. So pretty cool.
That really makes me wonder with like all of the negative talk around the creation of the Chainsaw Man anime, like, are they gonna stick with their guns and, like, keep the director, or is Goshizono gonna get, like, a shot at that after this if it pans out? Like, I don't know.
I mean, how much can they be taking those stupid fucking polls seriously, petitions or whatever? Like,
Yeah.
everything that he did for the Chainsaw Man anime is the same shit that Goshizono is doing for Jujutsu Kaisen. They're just
Yeah.
like actually making a film out of it. It like unless they want it to be Uzumaki and just feel like the manga is moving, then yeah, let them fucking play with it and use their medium.
Yeah. No, I wholeheartedly agree. I feel like they need to, like you said, like let young creators like show their chops and like I don't
Yeah.
know like what kind of expectation people have.
Because they, it was certainly intentional for Chainsaw Man and probably for Jujutsu Kaisen too. Of they said like, Fujimoto is a young creative, and so we want to put other young creatives of his generation on this adaptation and kind of get in the same headspace as him, have the same chance to shine and be creative and feel that freedom for the adaptation. So yeah, I think that makes total sense, and I think it's worked out well so far.
I will also say that like I'm happy and hoping that the scheduling for this Jujutsu Kaisen season is like helpful to the staff, like being able to take a break between the arc because yeah, going the whole 23 episodes uh throughout the year with I think there's only like 3 or 4 weeks in between the arc maybe, but
Oh, is that the plan? I didn't realize it wasn't just straight through.
I'm pretty sure it's this first arc is like 5, 6, 7 episodes, and then there will be like a short break, and then they're gonna yeah just do the rest of it.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I mean, I was always shocked by like the production quality of the first season in general because, not only had they already started uh working on like Attack on Titan, the final season was airing for most of the same time as the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen.
that's wild, dude.
Yeah, but not only that, uh, the God of High School, which Park also directed, ran right up to the beginning of Jujutsu Kaisen. So he had 3 straight cores between 2 different series of full series direction responsibilities at the same studio.
Jeez.
So yeah, I'm shocked that it didn't appear to run into any production issues.
Yeah, I'm also not shocked that he's like, I'm gonna go make my own studio, so I don't
Yeah,
have to do that anymore.
exactly. Blackjack and hookers.
Yeah. Speaking of, I think a totally unrelated anime. I think the new season of Futurama just dropped. I gotta. Um. Yeah. I think I've said my piece on Jujutsu Kaisen. I I think I've said it before, like seasons, like episodes and episodes ago, but the arc after this one is, I think, the best part of the entire series. So I'm really looking forward to what we're gonna get
I
based
haven't
on the
often
quality
heard
so
that.
far.
Like I feel like since that arc started in the manga years ago, I've been hearing that.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Mhm.
And
Fingers
yeah,
crossed.
I think I've probably noted this before, but just to give a little more context on the movie and the whole like prequel concept, it's a very unique situation because the basis of the movie was the original manga, and Jujutsu Kaisen is a sequel to that. They just
Yeah.
adapted the sequel first. Um, so that's why it makes total sense to just watch the movie first and why it is essential to the story because it's not just a side story, it's not just a prequel. That was actually written and released before there was ever a Yuji Itadori or any of that.
Yeah, the guy that's the main character in the movie was supposed to be the main character, basically, and now he's just a side character.
Yeah.
But and it also works out too because the Jujutsu Kaisen Volume Zero, which is what the movie adapts, was released, 5, 6, 7 volumes into Jujutsu Kaisen. So everyone, even that was reading it originally, because there's like the one, I feel like there's like the one shot prequel thing to Jujutsu Kaisen, but then like Zero was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna make it official that he's part of it now. But
Yeah. Yeah, like it was um uh I don't know if it was monthly or once every few months or something, but it was a 4 chapter series, I think, that Akutami started with. Um, and it was called whatever, Tokyo Metropolitan, whatever high.
yeah,
Uh, and then, that was a success in the magazine. And so he it's kind of like what they usually do with one shots, where you get a one shot, and then that serves as kind of your pilot. You rework it into the first chapter, and then create a full series out of it. Except in this case, he made it so that it could just canonically be a sequel and not interfere with each other at all. And so then, of course, the proper weekly series took off, and so then they reworked his original work into what became known as Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, and then packaged as Volume Zero of the manga series.
Yeah.
So very unique situation, but that is why the movie is important and can be watched first.
Alrighty. So we ready to shift?
Yeah.
Okie dokie. How about you guys talk a little bit about Bleach, since it's still good, which, even though I don't watch it, I'm still surprised by, because I remember how
Me too.
bad it was.
Yeah, me too. Especially how bad this arc was in the manga. Wild. Crazy.
Yeah, I think that's the main reason why it still ends up so highly on my list
Right.
is that, like, I remember just getting pissed off reading this when back in the day. I was like, "What is happening?" And now it's just like every episode is like, "Oh my god." It's almost like it's Mandela affecting me, where I'm just like, "Is this actually how it went down?" And I was just like a stupid child. But it's like, no, they're actually just, improving it in every way in terms of pacing and just everything else about it, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that I have that much new to say about this second season.
Mhm.
But yeah, it is really just what I've been saying since the first one, which is that uh, Kubo was under a lot of editorial pressure to drag shit out way too much and then rush shit way too much. And, all that uncertainty about where it was headed, how long it was going to be able to run, or how long they wanted to make it run, just caused it to be this total mess and could not fulfill his vision at all. And so now he is working, very directly in all aspects of this adaptation, 5-10 years later, to finally craft the perfect version of the story that even he couldn't have envisioned from the beginning. He needed to, see how it all played out himself to be able to look back and have 5-10 years of retrospect to be like, this is the perfect way it could have been, in conjunction with, these incredible creatives working on the adaptation. So they create this perfect version of the story with the pacing that you would dream of, and all the pieces that didn't really make sense or were stupid, either fleshed out or kind of tossed aside as appropriate. And then in addition to that, just insanely good direction and animation and color design and cinematography and music and everything about the execution, just absolutely top notch all the way through.
Yeah, both of the new opening ending songs are banger.
And the opening sequence is
Oh,
incredible.
it looks awesome. It
Oh
almost
man.
feels like a bit reminiscent of the first opening,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
little bit in its visual style.
Which is
Um,
like, Kubo likes to do that. He likes to show like his supernatural characters in a very modern urban setting.
yeah.
So just seeing the whole plot of the Thousand-Year Blood War in the context of just like,
They're just
modern
wearing
Tokyo.
streetwear,
In
yeah.
streetwear, yeah. Fucking
I love that.
Yu Habach
You
in the
haba.
helicopter. Uh,
Yeah.
Amazing. Love it
I
all.
think, yeah, I'm in the same boat where it's like not much new to add on yet as of right now. I think as long as the production holds through, it'll continue to be amazing. But that's the thing is that this story only got more convoluted as it approached the ending.
Mhm.
So I feel like the closer we get to the end, the more they are going to need to like edit the pacing of
Yeah.
the story and stuff. So I think it's yet to be seen like how much heavy lifting they're going to have to do to like really save the end of Bleach. But
Mhm.
I mean, so far they're really doing it. So impressive.
Yeah. could certainly drop off at any moment. I don't want to expect it to be as good all the way through, but given what they've shown us so far, I do have some hope that they can salvage the ending. And, as long as Kubo remains open to them just reworking his basic story beats, however it fits the better version of itself, I think they can definitely make something good out of it.
Yeah. I think since Kess and I just got to talk about a show, I was curious, Cain, what is this Ayaka show that you seemingly dropped? Seems to be the only other thing on your list.
It's not bad, but it's not good either. It is incredibly inoffensive. I picked it up mainly because I thought the little blurb and the title was interesting enough. To run it down as quickly as possible, essentially it's a show about people with powers that are called ley masters that control like the Earth's natural energy, kind of like a key substitute. And the main character's father dies when he's 5 on the island that they live on, where like all of this key tends to happen and generate, and he gets taken away to the mainland. He graduates middle school and they bring him back to the island, where he basically has to like meet everyone that he knew when he was young all over again, because probably a traumatic stress from the event basically caused him to forget like everything about his home and the people who live in it. And the first 3 episodes were just kind of like about that, but not. I wanted it to be more about insular, like how people process trauma and stuff, but really it's just like a kill demons show so far.
Okay.
So
color-coded boys, pretty boys, it seems.
Pretty much, and everyone kind of fits into a certain trope. Like there's a bad boy who uses a gun to kill demons and dresses like a hipster gangster, and he's very cold on the outside, but probably cares about someone or something on the inside. And then the guy that he grows up with, that they used to be kind of friends or more rivals, now hate each other because they're polar opposites. And the only other interesting character is the one who takes our main guy back to the island. He's the third boy, and he's just an alcoholic. But I can't figure out why yet. Like if there's a reason, or they just thought it'd be quirky if he was an alcoholic.
That's just my personality. Is I drink a lot.
That's pretty much it. He drinks a lot and he's very irresponsible, but he wants to be respected like a lay master, but he doesn't act like it at all. He wants the respect, but none of the responsibility, and he drinks all of the time. Like he's the direct cause of one of the first couple interactions with bad spirits, because he gets really drunk and casts a spell that makes a water creature, but then the water creature gets taken over by bad spirits because he casted the spell badly because he was drunk. I don't honestly know. I put it on because I was like, oh, it's something different. The whole title is like Ayaka, a story of bonds and trauma or something like that.
Damn, it's heavy.
So that's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, oh, there may be some magic or whatever, but it's about this boy processing the trauma of his dad dying, meeting all these people again. But for the most part, it's not. And there's also like 2 girls in the whole show, and both of them really don't say anything. It's all just a bunch of pretty boys doing stuff all the time.
Hell yeah. Good old yaoi bait. We love it.
Yeah. So, not my cup of tea, but I wanted to give it a shot. I don't even necessarily know if it's super yaoi bait, because nobody like has any interpersonal interest in anybody else. Like everybody is very standoffish towards everybody else. So there aren't even like close relationships, and at least 3 episodes in, it didn't look like there were any foundations to that either. Like very dysfunctional. But it also didn't look super great. Like, the more I watch anime with like a critical eye, even if I'm not good at dissecting the story parts, I notice all of the pieces about animation that I don't like. Like this show really utilizes, if a character isn't talking, their face is in a static position for the rest of the conversation.
Yeah.
So they don't react to the conversation when it's happening. They just are drawn like they're frozen in time until it's their turn to talk.
It's the 1,000-yard stare.
And nothing pulls you out of a conversation, no matter how important it is to the people having it, if while it's happening, the people who aren't talking look like cardboard cutouts of themselves. It kind of robs you of any dramatic tension or weight you had when your eye is drawn more towards the people who aren't reacting, because you look at them waiting for a reaction. Like if you're having a real conversation and it's about someone's death or you not knowing your father or other things, the people listening would react to it with their body language. Instead, the show doesn't have the time for that, apparently.
Imagine trauma dumping to your friends and they all just like blankly stare at you.
Pretty much. They don't even stare at you, they just stare.
They're just like
Yeah, it's not always even at the people talking, they're just staring outwards. And I mean, you can tell it doesn't have much of a budget either, because there are some battle fight scenes, but the battle fight scenes are more like the character jumps in the air and prepares a move, does a slow static turn where the clothes don't really like interact with each other. It's just like you put them on a spit and then turn the spit, and then it smash cuts to them just punching the thing in a freeze frame. So you don't get any of the you don't get any of the in-between animation of the attack. You get the attack charging up, and then you get the attack as it just happened. And they do that a lot too. Which for the most part would be something I'd like to think a lot of people could forgive if the interactions between the characters and the story and the writing were good. The action doesn't need to necessarily be good. But it just doesn't really have any of that going for it, other than the boys are pretty. So it does have that. And their outfits are complicated. So that's pretty much it. But I was thinking about giving it to the 4th episode, because it's supposed to kind of introduce 2 more characters, but I got to the end of the 3rd, I'm like, there's no way these 2 could save this.
Oh.
Yeah, it is what it is. I'd rather give it a shot of a show that's a little outside my comfort zone and not like it, and then just drop it after 3 episodes, especially in a season like this where it's not like I've got anything else going on except watching Monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should definitely do some heavy backlog duty. Now that
Yeah, this is a season that's probably good for that, at least more so than others, like the previous couple
Yeah.
that have always had.
DJ would say otherwise, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, he did also say, like, not all of them will survive, so who knows how many he'll still have by the end.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of... His list is basically evenly split between things below a C and above a C, so...
Right.
Yeah, like, I don't really see D pluses sticking around.
No, I mean, obviously,
And even some of the things in his B range, like... I guess I'm built different, but, like, the fact that he's still watching Rent a Girlfriend, like, props to that, man.
That's a whole phenomenon of hate watching that show.
Yeah.
That's like sport at this point.
Yeah, if I could grade Ayaka, it would probably be like a C minus. Like, I didn't hate it. It's just it's not good enough to continue. It isn't like Birdie Wing, which was just offensively bad.
Not even worth hate watching.
No, it's not. It leaves you feeling very empty. Which, depending on your outlook on life, could be worse than hating it.
The trauma was watching this nothing show, wasting my time.
Cain's reaction to it is just one of those blank-faced anime boys just staring with no movement for the entire episode.
Yeah, those bothered me a lot. Like, I didn't realize it until watching this show that I've always noticed them, but for the most part, it hasn't bothered me. But now, especially because the writing was not great and the characters I don't give a shit about, all I could do was stare at the blank-faced people.
I I just see that show playing on your TV and the blank-faced character, and then you pan over to Cain and it's the exact same face staring back at it.
Yep. That's basically what would happen, except sometimes there would be an exasperated sigh. But you win some, you lose some. Not all of them are going to be winners.
Yeah.
But we can, let's see, what time are we running on up in here? I think we've got time to cover like one more or so. I want to know about this cat one. Like, what is the deal with this cat one? The three of you, I think, are watching it. I saw some like stills from it, and it just looked like a giant cat living in a house with a girl, and nobody acts like this is weird.
Yeah, you're 99% through the plot of that show, yeah.
Oh, very good.
The only exception is that people don't necessarily not think it's weird. Some people accept it more than you would expect someone to. Most people aren't aware of it being a thing, and others just assume it's a guy in a suit.
This is one of the Gohan's shows, right?
It is, yeah. It does not look as offensively Gohan's.
Yeah.
Does the cat talk?
So the cat does not speak out loud, but it has lots of like internal monologues, and it is otherwise perfectly anthropomorphic. It's basically the cat is like the pet owner, and the owner is like the pet in terms of like being completely helpless and not able to do anything on her own, and so the cat has to like do all the cleaning and cooking, and like the owner tries to make cracked egg over rice and can't figure out how to crack an egg or like put in soy sauce or anything like that. So like, yeah, that's basically the dynamic they have. And the cat goes out shopping, and one of the guys who works at the store is like, "Oh, it's so cute," and then one of the other people is like, "Just like a weird dude in a suit. Like, why are you okay with this? You should kick him out or something." So yeah, that's basically what it's. But it's also a cat, and he's like obsessed with cat treats, and he gets a little stick of catnip and lights it up like a stogie.
Okay, no, that's fun. I like that. That is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it has some charming moments. It is very superfluous and occasionally gross Gohan's kind of camera work, but not nearly as much as we've come to fear from them. So it's all right. Very fluffy. I don't think DJ had anything to say about that. No.
I don't think so. No, I think he has it at a C-.
Yeah.
Pretty low for both. I think it's funny because I mentioned DJ watching Rent a Girlfriend, and one of the other baffling shows that he's watching is the Masamune-kun sequel, and that's one of those shows that, similar to me not being able to continue Rent a Girlfriend, the first season of Masamune-kun that aired like, I don't know, 8 years ago or whenever, that was like one of the first moments when I was like, there was like a good string of time where I was dedicated to like watching almost every show I could for a season. And that was about a tipping point for me where I started to realize I needed more damn self-respect. And I got like 3/4 of the way through this show, and I just had to put it down because the first season was so annoying to me. And it's crazy that it's airing the same season as Rent a Girlfriend, and DJ's like, hell yeah, I'm living.
Yeah, and they are both like fairly high on his list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the time of DJ.
It is. It really
The era of man has ended.
Yeah, I think I watched the whole first season for some reason, but definitely in the 7 or 8 years as I've looked back on it, I was like, why did I watch that whole show? So I had no interest in checking
I-
out the second season.
I honestly might have finished the first season, but it was one of those where no, I did because I remember the final episode being so not satisfying that I was
Yeah.
like, I will never let that happen to myself ever again. So
And Rent a
that was
Girlfriend was another one where like I watched more of it than I should have. Like
yeah.
I don't know, I watched maybe 4 or 5 episodes of the first season,
Mm.
but it is extremely popular and people absolutely love to absolutely hate it and hate the protagonist so much.
Yeah.
I guess we can read what he has to say about those two things since we are
Might as
talking
well.
about them despite not watching them.
Yeah.
I don't know, which one do you want to take?
You could take the Rent a Girlfriend one. I'll do the Masamune-kun.
All right. So DJ says, I like the new girl too much and I hate how high the grade I gave it is. He gave it
Oh,
a B minus, number 5 out of 15 shows he's watching. But from what I understand, the season covers the best arc of the series, so I guess there's that to look forward to.
So he's even slightly ashamed of the grade that he gave.
Of course.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone who's watching the show is either doing it purely out of hate watching sport or is deeply ashamed of themselves.
Yeah. I think that was my problem was that I I couldn't feel too strongly one way or the other, which is why I couldn't continue watching. Because I finished the first season and I was like, wow, I hate myself. And then the second season came around and I was like, you guys, I will be a martyr. I will watch this so we can talk about it. And I got like 4 or 5 episodes in and I was like, I can't keep going. It's just it wasn't as cringe inducing as the first one, but it was just like there was less for me to even care about. So I was just like,
Hmm.
I don't know, I couldn't even be invested as a hater or as a cringer or as anything. So, yeah, I mean, DJ is holding on strong, and if this is supposed to be the best season, you know, I hope it is. If this is a season where he gets that boner underwater, you know, I hope they animate the heck out of it.
Yeah.
All right, and so for his Masamune-kun's Revenge Season 2 write-up, DJ says, "I never expected to get a second season of this show, but I'm glad we did, as I liked it a lot when it came out. The basis might be a little problematic, and not as acceptable now as it is when the first season aired, but I still like the series as a whole and consider it one of the better standard school life harems out there." What I'm failing to remember, like, what the premise even is of it. Do you remember what would make it, like, problematic?
Um, so it's like the kid was a fat kid and he got like bullied for it or something.
Oh, yeah, and he's
Uh,
like he got skinny and he's like,
yeah,
"I'm gonna be like a Chad."
exactly. Yeah, and so he sets up like this revenge plan to get back at her for like being mean to him when he was fat or whatever.
That's what it was. Yeah, and then in the first season, they introduced, like, a different version of him that was, like, actually still kind of fat, but was, like, more charming or, like, a dickhead or something, like, oh my god. It's hurting me just trying to remember this show. I remember the end of this first season was basically, "You wanna know what happens? Well, read the manga."
Yeah.
But, well, you know what? I hope the second season's better than the first, 'cause TJ he liked it already, so, you know, can only hope for better horizons. Mm.
He always has a very interesting list, to say the least. Given
Yeah,
his taste, so
yeah.
there's always that.
No, I appreciate that about him. He brings a very stark variety to some of the discussions,
Yeah.
especially for even, like, shows that we all watch together, like, he will usually have a fairly different opinion.
Mhm.
At the very least, he also does not like Dark Gathering. So
That's true.
you know there is that.
There's
Yeah.
that, yeah.
He's still going though, despite giving it a worse grade. I'm
Yeah,
sure that will not last.
I can't remember if he's like caught up on these shows. I know when he first posted his list, he was like first episode rankings. So I don't know if he's watched like the second or third episodes of these shows by now. Uh,
I
but
was
yeah,
I was honestly hoping he'd do more write ups on the ones he's not enjoying.
I know. Yeah, he basically only did it for like his top half.
Yeah.
Very interesting. All right. If there's anything else you guys wanted to talk about, we can go through those, or we can head into
Yeah.
some recommendations since we have crested the 2 hour mark.
Yeah, we might as well, cover the other things that DJ wrote up for us.
Sure.
And yeah, those shows are one that both Brandon and I are watching, and one that I am watching. So be
Yeah.
good to give him a minute anyway.
I can read the Horimia one.
Sure.
So DJ says, expectedly great start, unexpectedly emotional OP. Keeps making me think we're going into Horimia after story, which couldn't really be any further from the truth. But while I obviously like the show and more Horimia content is always good, I can't help but feel like most of this should have been in like the actual show rather than just being additional content we're meant to look back on. It's funny that that he's right, but at the same time, that's just kind of what happened in the manga. It's like it kind of, the story kind of ended, and then it was just kind of like, let's just goof off and like have side stories for the rest of it.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a strange adaptation choice to just try to cram all of the like story into the adaptation and then go back and adapt all the little in between bits out of order in the follow up. So
It's true. It's like did they not expect it to be popular? Like,
I
yeah,
guess I don't know.
I guess I also don't really know why they needed to feel like they needed to rush it in one season.
Yeah.
Because that was like that. I remember that last episode of the first season being like, whoa, 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 wait, hold on, wait, wait, where are you going?
Yeah, I guess they just didn't want, the situation of the ending feels totally anticlimactic, like we haven't accomplished anything in the season, and they're just trying to get people to read the manga, so they want to have like, the full story arc conveyed in that one core. But yeah, it just results in a follow up needing to be the in between pieces that didn't make the cut the first time around.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. It's like good fluff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always like, it's similar to the Ranking of Kings one that happened last season, right?
Yeah.
And I dropped that. I guess this works better for me because that's what Horimiya is anyway. Like, it's a slice of life show. Nothing matters in the first place. Nothing happens in the first place. It's all about character dynamics and interactions and little, high school antics. So, it totally fits. It would have been better if they just kind of did it straight and had these sprinkled in along with the bigger moments. But I think, just a straight run of this is still very much Horimiya at its core. So I have no problem with it. It still looks great, still well directed. The opening, it definitely doesn't quite convey how fluffy the season is because they don't really have anything of consequence to adapt in the season. But yeah, the director of the series, Masashi Ishihama, is like a really well-regarded opening director, and he directed the openings for both seasons as well. So it makes sense that they're really incredible pieces of work. But yeah, it makes you feel like it's going to be this after story type thing that we like to imagine we'll get from every high school romance, but almost never actually do.
Yeah.
And then his other one is number one, Mushoku Tensei. And he says Mushoku Tensei season 2 gave us an A+. Great to see Rudy back in action. Depression arc was a little short. That's the most DJ thing I've ever read. But I feel like it kind of has to be in a series spanning as long as this one does. new characters are neat, but none of them have really clicked for me yet, and I'm not sure if I should expect them to be around for a while or not. Fitz is a stupid name. Yeah. Mushoku Tensei was another one where there is some concern about not living up to the quality of direction or animation from the first season because it got some staff replacements, new director, a lot of new staff, and the studio. You know, the studio was formed to make Mushoku Tensei, and they worked on the first season for many years. Of course, since then, it has not been that long, and they've made another show since then, so they couldn't have possibly given the second season as much time and care as they gave the first one. So that was already a concern. And then, you know, the director being replaced and kind of the really promising staff being replaced with less promising people made it a little worrying. I think there are little signs of that not being like quite as incredible as the first season so far, but I think other than the little like prequel side story OVA thing that came out first as like an episode 0, I think the season proper has definitely done its best to like give us the quality and adaptation that we expect, and the content is already really good. It is, you know, starting off on a really emotional note and really good character growth and development for Rudy as well. So yeah, I think it's still in pretty good hands and doing the best that they can with the resources they have. So I'm not too worried at the moment. I think it's looking good. Yeah.
Alrighty. I think that about covers those bases, yeah?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool beans. Well, do any of you fine gentlemen have some recommendations?
While I look for some anime recommendations, I will certainly recommend everyone goes to see Oppenheimer. If you have an IMAX 70mm near you, there are only like 30 prints of the film made for that. So if you're near one of those 29 or 30 theaters around the world, definitely check it out in that format if you can still find good seats. I think it's pretty much got all of the premium formats booked out for the next 3 weeks. So hopefully you'll be able to find something good out there, ideally film. But if you got to just settle for digital IMAX, that could be acceptable as well. But it is a great film regardless, and I think everyone should go check it out on the big screen.
Did you see any of the memes about the film and how it should have been marketed back in the 90s? Because those have been sustaining my life.
I have not seen any of that.
Like, if BK got it, they'd make the Wappenheimer value meal.
Oh.
And then they had like popcorn buckets shaped like atom bombs, and I'm like, this is this is fantastic. And living through like sort of the 90s and early 2000s when movie tie-ins with fast food and stuff are a lot bigger, I could definitely imagine those happening. Like the Wappenheimer value meal would have been a thing, because nobody fucking gave a shit when that stuff was on the menu. It was whatever was catchy and cheeky, so people will come in and buy a hamburger.
Right.
But my brother and his wife saw the movie and also said it was really very good. And the sound mix wasn't nearly as bad as some of Nolan's other movies.
Mm.
So you could understand when people were talking most of the time, which is a big plus.
That's true. Tenet had a big problem with that.
Yep. But yeah, that's one I'm definitely gonna see when it's in theaters. I don't necessarily know when. We do have one IMAX around here, but it sucks, so I typically don't go.
Yeah.
Everything in there is just louder. The mix, like the sound isn't better, it's just louder, which to me doesn't do a whole lot. And the screen is big, but the sound is, just as important and sucks.
Cain, make your way over to King of Prussia. They've got one of the 29 IMAX 70mm.
Oh, do they?
Yourself a favor. They do.
I only live about 45 minutes away from that.
That's the big one, right? That's the huge... I'll check the list again, but it's somewhere in that area.
The big what? Like King of Prussia is a big area with a giant mall.
Yeah, but isn't it like the huge IMAX?
I don't know. I
Yeah,
have
yeah, it is.
I've never seen a movie out there. I go out there
Okay.
mainly because we go to the mall or whatever, just to take in the opulence of this giant fucking monstrosity.
Yeah, it is. It is King of Prussia.
Oh well, I bet those tickets are all fucking gone. But I'll definitely
Yeah,
keep a lookout. I imagine it'll have a generally long screen run, so maybe I'll
yeah.
go.
Like I said, Nolan made every theater's chain give him 3 weeks of large format exclusivity.
So
Um,
yeah, that might be something I'll do then and catch it in the best way possible.
yeah, from what I know, most of like the nice theaters around are booked out like a week for both Barbie and Oppenheimer. So
Yeah,
definitely, I would say look into that sooner rather than later if you want to see it within a week or so.
Yeah, I'll catch it eventually. On 70 millimeter or otherwise, like big screen, cool theater stuff is cool for me regardless. But it is cool to know that I have the option of attempting to view it in that giant format. I didn't know that was even a thing around here until you said so, Kestrel. I figured it was just something for all you fancy Californians.
I mean, I did see it in the theater that Nolan uses to screen it. No big deal. But yeah, I didn't find any anime recommendations, so just Oppenheimer.
Um, I feel like I don't really have any recs at the moment. Watch that Junji to or the Uzumaki trailer because it's gonna be sick. Gonna be a moment. Uh, yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, I think all three of us are kind of in that way, especially with the season. The other thing I was gonna say, and I don't think we have any real information about it at this point, is Pluto, which
Yeah,
is another thing Netflix is working on. Which
Well, we do have information from AX about that.
because I
I
saw
saw
that.
a whole damn episode.
I
Oh
saw a
yeah.
whole damn 2 episodes, but
2 episodes. Goddamn.
yep. But no, at
The fourth of the whole thing.
it sure is, yes. Thanks, Netflix. But yeah, the series, the full 8 episodes, will be dropping on October 26th on Netflix.
Oh, nice. So obviously you can't watch it now, but check it out, like just for the information, because it looks very, very good. Castro, on a scale of 1 to 2, how good were the episodes?
On a scale of 1 to 2.
On a scale of 1 to 2, whole numbers only.
I'm going to say a 2.
Ah, excellent. It's the perfect
Uh,
show.
I loved it.
True.
2 robotic thumbs up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, and I will mention again, since you guys weren't on, you can find my interview with Masao Maruyama about Pluto on the Fandom post.
Hell yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, if that wraps up the sparse recommendations we do have for this episode, I think we can say our goodbyes to the audience. So, Kestrel, why don't you let everybody know where they can find us?
You can find us wherever you find podcasts. Please subscribe, rate, and review. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, all those places. I don't know what even still exists. If you find podcasts, we're there. You can find all our stuff at fandompost.com. You can find us on, let me check if it's still called this, Twitter?
It's called
I
X
think.
now.
Is it though? Is it yet officially?
I think the desktop version is.
I mean, the logo is, but I think it's still called Twitter.
This
Uh,
shit won't last a week. By the time this episode comes out, it won't even be real.
yeah, so that's we are on some social media platform that is currently owned by Elon Musk, as well as Facebook. If anyone uses that, I guess the intersection of those would be Threads, but we do not exist yet there. I don't think, unless it automatically creates one. I don't know. Anyway, Facebook and Twitter /X for the moment. And if you want to just use email to not sustain these social media platforms, you can find us there, fandompostradio@gmail.com. And I am on Twitter/X/whatever, I think, if it still exists and they haven't locked my account or something, at Full Metal Kioma. Thankfully, I rarely ever post, so I have not been substantially affected by all this bullshit.
You can find me at Hellshake Brando on all of the socials. And since Mashal ended, I do not have anything else currently going on at Fandom Post. So, we'll see what I can conjure up soon.
Yeah, I guess I should mention I am reviewing Zom 100 and Undead Girl Murder Farce every week.
Is that one of the worst anime titles ever? Like, just in general?
It very well might be. My lead-in line for my first episode review was, "What are we, some kind of undead girl murder farce?"
You couldn't have really started it any other way.
Alrighty, Brian, how about you tell us where we can find you if you haven't already? Sorry, I was looking at the IMAX things, and
I
there's...
did my thing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there are seats in the front for the 70mm, all the way in the front.
Yep.
Oh, I've seen those images of like someone they're like, "Don't sit in the front," and it's like Cillian Murphy's face looking all funny.
Yeah, I know. I found that. I think they took the clip down, which is, I guess, good because it spoils stuff anyway. But I think the thumbnail is still there, and yeah, it's fucking nightmare fuel.
It's so funny.
Is it like seeing like an 8-foot tall tooth or something? Like he's talking and I can just see his tonsils and they're as big as a Plymouth.
Let's see. All the clips are down. Here, let me find this other screenshot of it. It's real good.
All right. Well, while you look for that, we can call it a night here, just so people don't have to sit here and listen to me in media res be horrified by a giant Cillian Murphy.
Right.
So, everybody, thank you for listening as always. We will talk to you soon. Enjoy the season and enjoy your Barbenheimer.
Oh yeah.
Bye bye.
Yeah.
Bye.